Hi, everyone, and welcome back to our homeroom. I'm so excited for today because today is the juicy stuff. This is all the information you're going to learn about how to help alleviate a lot of the behaviors you're seeing from your children. So I'm really excited to get into that today. Just a reminder, if you are listening to this as a podcast and you're more of a visual learner, I do have a worksheet that you can download, or you can get onto YouTube and watch it there. All right, so today we are in lesson 4 of a 4-part unit about family relationships, kind of like a family relationships 101. If you haven't listened to the other 3, you might want to go back and listen because there's a lot of background information and you might not understand today without the other 3 episodes. So far we have discussed that if we make our relationship with our children our number 1 priority, everything else in life, school, home, everything else just kind of falls into place. That relationship is just the most important thing that we can provide our children, but also it helps us enjoy parenting as well. So to do that, to have a really good relationship, have a balanced relationship, what does that mean? There are 3 steps to creating this really good relationship with our kids and managing all the other parts of life that go with that relationship. So step 1, we provide a balance of power. That means we have to shift from a power over to a power with to kind of get more on the same team with our children, kind of create that good we instead of a me versus them kind of power scenario. Step 2 is to provide a balance of needs, and those 2 needs are belonging needs and boundary needs. And we provide both of those needs, then our children have what they need to be successful, everybody's feeling better, acting better, it's a great mix. Then step 3 is to manage the misbehavior that is going to appear when our children have a need that's not being met. That is normal. We cannot have our needs met at all moments of every day. So you are going to see misbehavior from your children, and that's okay. That's just a clue that there is a missing need. So today we're going to dive into which misbehaviors line up with which missing needs. And that is why today's episode is so great, because you're going to get all the secrets so you can then decipher your children's misbehavior, provide them their needs, and then that misbehavior goes away. So it's really great. Let's go ahead and dive into managing misbehavior by providing needs. So when you see misbehavior from your children, you really want to look at it as managing it by providing needs, the missing needs for them, rather than looking at it as a way to gain control or power over. You also don't want to give up power and let your children have power over. Power over and power under, neither of those work. You want to have a nice balance of power. If you're not sure why, make sure you go back to episode 2 because I really go into it a lot there. So it's really important instead to just manage it by providing needs. Why? Because misbehavior matches up with a missing need. Misbehavior only occurs when we have needs that are unmet. So if you look at all of your unhealthy behaviors or unhealthy behaviors of others, chances are it is a need that is not met. Not a want or a desire, but a need. Sometimes those wants and desires are surface things. Like we might think we need ice cream when we're lonely, but actually that's just a want. The real need is comfort. And we can be using a want like ice cream to try to suffice that need, but that's never going to work. That's why we end up eating a whole tub of ice cream, because it's not actually giving us the need of comfort. So when I talk about needs, I mean those really good integral human needs, not things like wants and cravings. So when you see your children misbehaving, it really just means there is one of the 6 essential needs that they are missing. And if you provide that need, misbehavior goes away. So the first thing to think about is do not take the misbehavior personally. This is really hard, and it is going to take a lot of practice, and you're never probably going to do it 100% right. I still don't do it all the way right. But try your hardest to not take the misbehavior personally and just look at it like, that's interesting. They're acting this particular way. They must have a need that is missing. Sometimes it's a need that it's not your fault that it's missing. Sometimes it's something that's happening at school. Someone is rejecting them at school. So it's not always because of a need that you're not providing. It could be coming from somewhere else. But it is a clue that there's a need missing. So instead, you just want to get curious and to start thinking, why could they be acting this way? What could the missing need be? So you're going to look at it as a clue, and then the clues are going to show up as the actual behavior you're seeing and the feelings involved. So humans make other people feel the way they feel in their actions, because when we set other people up to feel the way we feel, hopefully then they'll understand, they'll have empathy for me, and then we are now connecting, and that's what we want more than anything else. We want that relationship with others, we want that connection, we want that belonging. So we set other people up to feel how we feel. Unconsciously, we don't realize we're doing that. But if you look at your children's behavior and then you figure out how that's making you feel, very, very similar to how your children are feeling. So you're going to look at the behaviors, the actions that are happening, and then you're going to pay attention to your feelings. And those are going to be the clues you're going to use to line it up with the missing needs. So let's go through all of the 6 essential needs. So we're going to start with our belonging needs. And belonging needs, again, are connection, respect, and encouragement. So with connection, if your child is missing connection, you're going to see attention-seeking behavior. That attention-seeking behavior is usually really annoying, right? I always think of when as soon as you get on the phone, your child starts jumping on the couch or tapping you or saying your name over and over again. I think of Stewie in the Family Guy, mom, 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 mommy, mom, mom, right? It's very annoying. So attention-seeking behavior usually makes you feel very annoyed. So when you're feeling that annoyance and you're seeing your children do things that are clearly just trying to get your attention, chances are they just need some connection. And remember, those connection things are, you might just need to get to know them, spend some time doing some things with them that they love. You might need to change the way you're communicating with them. Maybe you're not giving eye contact, putting your phone down, really making sure you're actively listening to their stories. Or it could be just that maybe your family could use a little bit more togetherness. Maybe create a special time together, plan a special night, a movie night, or something that kind of brings everybody together. So connection needs, when they are not met, will result in annoying attention-seeking behavior. Okay, so respect. Respect needs, when those are not being met, then children are going to exhibit hurt-seeking behavior. Some experts call it revenge-seeking behavior. I find that that's somewhat a stretch because it's easier for me to understand that it's hurt-seeking. If they are looking to hurt others because they themselves are hurting inside. When someone doesn't feel respected or accepted or valued for who they are as people, it feels like rejection. And when we feel rejection, we are extremely hurt. So our hurt-seeking children are tough because they're often making you feel really bad. They're making you feel hurt. They're being mean. Sometimes they can escalate into violence even. So our hurt-seeking children are just missing the integral need of respect. So in respect, that means you need to validate them, their opinions, and who they are. So validating them, accepting them, valuing them, that's a huge part of respect. Maybe you might need to build some more trust. Has trust been broken somewhere throughout the relationship? Also, have you apologized when you've had conflict? Have you had a conversation? Have you made amends? So when conflict goes unresolved, that can also break a relationship up and really hurt your children. So make sure, if there has been a conflict, which is inevitable, and that's okay, just go back, talk to them, kind of clear the air and get that resolved really calmly. And that will help them feel more accepted and part of the group. And then they won't have the need to seek out hurt. Okay, so the last we need is encouragement. So with encouragement, if your child is missing this need, they're going to seek to avoid, because encouragement just means they don't have a belief in themselves that they can do something, so then they'd rather just not do it at all. So if you see your children kind of being lazy, quote unquote, or unmotivated, or not up for challenges, or kind of skating by, not really doing much, not even putting in a lot of effort, a lot of times those children, and this is a lot of times our teenagers, they are avoidance seeking because they're feeling hopeless and helpless. They don't feel like they can do anything, which means you're also going to feel hopeless and helpless. And you may even seek to kind of try to do everything for them because you don't know what else to do. These children, you've tried everything, you've done everything, and they just don't seem to care. They don't seem to put in any effort. So when you're seeing that, those children need encouragement. And so what encouragement again breaks down to is, one is you believing in them. They cannot believe in themselves without a parent believing in them first. Supporting their goals, maybe helping give them baby steps. Sometimes when people are really discouraged, they're not sure how to get out of that. So kind of giving them really baby steps, and really supporting every little goal step that they make. Even if it's just something simple, but it's a step in the right direction, you're going to celebrate that and be excited for them. And then you have to be patient through mistakes. Mistakes are an inevitable part of growing. Children need to know that you have their back when they mess up, that that's okay, and that they can keep going. It doesn't mean that they're a failure, they're not good enough, that it's okay. That is part of encouraging them, is getting them through those mistakes that are inevitable. Okay, so those are our belonging needs for connection, respect, and encouragement. We're going to go on to the 3 boundary needs. And those again are establish boundaries, enforce boundaries, and reciprocate boundaries. Okay, so this is a very fine line here between establish and enforce. So I'll try to explain it the best I can. Make sure to let me know if you have questions on it. I can help clarify. So if you haven't established boundaries clearly, if there hasn't been a lot of clarity on what your actual boundaries are, you're going to start seeing rule-breaking behavior from your children. And you're going to feel baffled. You're going to, what? Why would they do that? Why would that ever even cross their mind to do that? We never do that. Things like that. You're going to be baffled. I remember, I would say to my students in class, okay, everybody, we're lining up for lunch. They just stand up, run into line. I would be baffled. What happened? This is not what we do. And then I realized, probably because I haven't established the rules and what exactly it means to stand up and line up for a line. That we're not just run in line. We have to stand up. We have to push in our chairs. We have to go one table at a time. So if you're feeling baffled, you're seeing your kids breaking rules, maybe you haven't determined, communicated, and trained those boundaries, established them really clearly with your children. So sometimes we don't even know what our boundaries are. So you've got to make sure that you and your partner are on the same team, and determine what those boundaries actually are. And you're both on the same team about that, and it's very clear what those are. Make sure you're communicating them to the children. Sometimes we just think it's obvious. Rules that you think are absolutely obvious, you would be shocked, are not obvious to children. So you have to make sure you communicate those very clearly, respectfully, kind of like, hey guys, this is what the rules are. And then the most frustrating part of establishing boundaries is training and retraining and retraining and retraining. Children do not have those automatic habits. You've got to remember, we've been doing it for decades and they're very new at all these. So you've got to take time to train and retrain. Also, even when you come back from vacation, you may need to do training all over again because they've lost it. They don't remember what the rules are. So for establish, if you're seeing a lot of rule breaking behaviors going on, then you could need to establish boundaries a little more clearly for them. Okay, enforcing boundaries is very similar, except for this is going to be more of a limit pushing. So there might be breaking the rules, but you get this feeling like they're kind of challenging the rules. They're pushing for that boundary. They're trying to find what the boundary actually is. How many times can they get away with this, right? So if you're seeing limit pushing behavior and you're feeling exasperated, you're like, how many times do I have to tell them? Why do I have to keep repeating myself? If you're starting to feel resentment also, you feel like you keep doing everything for everybody because nobody's doing the things you've asked them to, and you feel like you've asked them a million times, it could be that you need to enforce boundaries. When you enforce boundaries, it's easy. It's better if you have concise language. And that means like something like an enforceable statement. I will drive the car again when you all are quiet. Things like that. Just keep it the I will do when kind of thing. So those enforceable statements can be very concise, and they help make it very clear what the enforcement will be. You're not going to continue driving in a loud car, for instance. You can also use consequences. This can be tricky. I'm going to have a whole episode all about using consequences, because consequences are not punishment. They are only affected when you need to enforce boundaries. They are not effective for pretty much any other behavior. But using consequences, you do need to hold them accountable, just like the real world holds us accountable. If we don't put our garbage out when we're supposed to, they just don't pick up the garbage. So there are consequences to our actions. Resentment specifically usually means you aren't holding personal boundaries. It's also really important you learn how to say no when you are overwhelmed, you're exhausted, and you just can't give anymore. And you also need to ask for your own needs to be met. So if you're feeling a lot of resentment, then it could mean you need to enforce and hold your own personal boundaries. Okay, so enforcing boundaries means you're going to see limit pushing, you're going to feel exasperated, or maybe even a little bit resentful. All right, so the last part of boundary needs is to reciprocate boundary needs. So not only do we have to have our own boundaries, but our children also have to have their own space, their own independence, and that's really important for them. Otherwise, you're going to see power-seeking behavior. So if you're not reciprocating your child's boundaries, then you're going to start seeing them fight back, and you're going to feel challenged. You're going to feel like they're trying to fight. You might see defiance, things like that. So usually that comes down to, have you given enough voice and choice? Do they have enough choice in their life? Do they feel like in their small little lives that they have, depending on their age, do they have some choice or some control over their lives? So you want to make sure they have voice and they have choice in things. You also want to make sure you're sharing tasks with them. You're teaching them responsibility. You're letting them try to do things. They might do them wrong, but you're giving them things to do. I used to get in huge fights with my son. I've mentioned this before about brushing his teeth. As soon as I gave him that task, I shared that task with him and I was like, you know what, go ahead and do it. He didn't do it perfectly, but he did it. I stopped having fights with him. So it's really important that if you start seeing that power-seeking behavior, maybe there's a task that they need to take on for themselves. And that's also kind of related to promoting independence, especially when it comes to school. Letting your children have that school, letting that be theirs, that's a great way to reciprocate their boundaries, give them independence and space over their own lives. Okay, so those are how the misbehaviors line up with those missing needs. And that's it. If we just keep making sure we're providing these needs, then our children feel better and then they act better. Next, let's talk about how. So we know the why. We know because misbehavior lines up with missing needs, but how do we actually do it in the moment? And this is something I had to learn to get better at. So this also takes a lot of practice, but I call this method the 4 P's. And that is, we need to pause, pinpoint, prescribe, and provide. So when you're actually in the moment where your child is acting in a way that is frustrating for everyone and you're seeing that misbehavior, you're going to follow the 4 P's in that moment. So the first P is to pause. This one is the hardest one. You have to pause, take a breath, and try to shift power. It is our habit, and for many, many of us, it is a habit to try to raise our energy up, to overpower, to control, to try to stop the misbehavior because it's uncomfortable. We don't like it. We just want it to stop. That won't work. It usually causes other misbehaviors. Or it works temporarily, but you'll see it come out somewhere else. So you want to pause and breathe and bring your power down. Shift that power from your head space down into your body space and your heart space, trying to make sure you're stepping back from the misbehavior, not taking it personally, just looking at it as a clue. Okay, so the pause is just that deep breath or whatever visualization works for you to bring the power down, to bring your energy down into your heart and body space. Then you're going to take that moment to notice and be curious. What are the behavior clues that are happening here? And what are my feelings that I'm feeling? Knowing that whatever I'm feeling is very similar to probably what my child is feeling. So pause, bring that power down, notice behavior clues and what your feelings are. Step 2 is you're going to pinpoint. Okay, so based on this behavior that I'm seeing and based on the feeling that I'm feeling, if I was feeling this way or acting this way, what would I probably need? Now, I've given you those kind of a cheat sheet of sort as to which misbehavior lines up, but there's going to be so much nuance to this. So sometimes you're going to have to use your own intuition on that, and you're just going to have to pay attention. If I was feeling this way or acting this way, chances are, what would that mean that I needed? Okay, so the step 2 is to pinpoint that missing need. Step 3, with most misbehaviors, you're going to prescribe a momentary need in that moment to subside the misbehavior right then. Then step 4 is to provide the need in an ongoing way so that that prevents the future misbehavior. Now, there's some behaviors that there's nothing you can really do in the moment. You may actually have to take a breath and step away from each other. But most misbehaviors, there's something you can do in the moment to kind of alleviate the need right then, to alleviate the misbehavior in the moment. And then after that, you're going to think, okay, I'm seeing this repetitive behavior a lot. How can I make sure to provide this missing need kind of, behind the scenes, so then that misbehavior goes away and you don't continue to see it. Okay, so again, those 4 steps, you're going to pause, bring your energy down, notice the behavior clues and the feelings that are happening. Number 2, you're going to pinpoint the missing need. If you were feeling that way and acting that way, what would the missing need be? Then you're going to prescribe a momentary need to subside the current misbehavior, and then you're going to provide the ongoing need behind the scenes. So you'll know in the next day or so to kind of come up with a plan of how to make sure to provide that. That way that misbehavior just kind of goes away. All right, so I'm going to give you a few examples. I did this in the last slide too, but let me give you a few more examples here. So if you see that your children are nagging and whining you, they're doing a lot of nagging, they're doing a lot of whining, they really want your attention, they're, come on, mom, can we do this? And I want to do this, and bugging you to try to, will you please this, please that, please that? Chances are they need connection. So in that moment, you're going to pause, take a breath, bring your energy down, notice that it is whining and nagging, and notice that you're feeling a little annoyed and a little frustrated. And that means they're also feeling a little annoyed and a little frustrated because you're not giving them any attention. So then you can stop and maybe in that moment provide them a little connection. My favorite clue for this, or tip for this, was to say, I cannot wait to hear your story. I cannot wait to play a game with you. I cannot wait to hear what you have to tell me. But I can't right now because I am, finishing a text messaging, cooking dinner, in the middle of something, whatever. So you want to just connect with them for that momentary need, spend a little bit, give them a little bit of eye contact, and then to provide it on the back end, maybe you find time that night to play that game with them, sit and read a book with them at bedtime, just listen to them, spend some positive time, be interested in them, take some interest in maybe some of the games that they're playing, things like that. And that will help that connection be strengthened, which means that misbehavior will go away. All right, so another example. If you are seeing a lot of defiance or fighting or eye rolling or just refusal for your children to do anything that you'd like them to do, then you're going to pause, take a breath, shift your power down, notice those behavior clues, and then pay attention to your feelings. So you're probably feeling angry and challenged, which means that's how they're also feeling, is angry and challenged, which means they need their boundaries reciprocated. They're looking for some power and control also in that moment. So a really good one in the moment for power-seeking kids is to give them some kind of choice that works. Something in the moment. For a child, for instance, that is fighting about getting in a shopping cart. They don't want to sit in the shopping cart. Okay, well, you can't run free in the store. Would you like to sit in the cart or walk holding my hand? Anything that you can do in that moment to give them space and control. And then think in the background, where are some places in their life that maybe they need a little bit more control? Maybe they need to take on some tasks, and that will help them stop fighting with you because they'll feel like they have their own power and control. Okay, so then the last example I'll give is, again, if you're seeing, for their older teenage children, a lot of times, especially teenage boys, we see a lot of, quote, lazy, unmotivated, no effort kind of behavior. You might, again, you're going to stop, take your breath. You might feel helpless and hopeless in that moment, which means that's how they're feeling. They're so discouraged that they are feeling pretty hopeless about things. In that moment, you're going to need to provide encouragement by maybe giving them some kind of, you know what, I think you can do this. I believe in you. Kind of shifting your mind. You may even just need to shift your mindset into starting to believe in them, focusing on their strength, things like that. With our encouragement children, most of that is going to be a providing the need behind the scenes. There's not going to be a lot momentarily that you can do, but you can try to figure out a plan for how to build up their belief and their confidence in themselves. Come up with a plan to give them some baby steps. What are some ways you can focus on their strengths? Give them some compliments. These children, they're not just really seeing their strengths, so they need a lot of your help to point that out. Also, they really need help getting through those mistakes. So it's really important if they have a low grade that you're saying, it's all right. It's part of the learning process. I'm here for you. And you're helping them work through those mistakes when they come out, especially when they're grades. Okay, so that is how to do the 4 Ps. You're going to pause, pinpoint, prescribe, and provide. And when you can do that in the moment and then also behind the scenes, you can provide those needs for your children, misbehavior does start to diminish. And eventually it can go away completely. After you do this for a while, your kids' needs are met and then they're feeling good and they're acting good and then everybody's a lot happier. Okay, so misbehavior. I don't know if you remember, but in the last few episodes, I kind of related all of this to the idea of a home, right? So when we build a home, we have to have the foundation first. And the foundation are those belonging needs. That is the base that everything else is built upon. Our boundary needs become the structure or the walls of that home. When we manage a home, eventually there are going to be issues with the foundation. There's going to be issues with that structure. And that is all that managing misbehavior is. It's kind of looking more at the cracks and the leaks in the foundation or the structure of that home, and then figuring out what the problem is and patching it up. And so that is all misbehavior is. It's just a clue that either the foundation, the belonging, or the structure, the boundaries, need maintenance. So that is it when it comes to managing your household so that everybody is feeling successful and thriving and everyone's getting along. It really does make a difference. I promise you, I did this for years and years and years in my classroom and with my son, and it really makes a difference. It's really just those 3 steps. 1 is shifting the power with your children. 2 is providing a balance of belonging and boundary needs. And 3, managing misbehavior by just providing those needs instead. And I promise you, everything will get better once all of those needs are met. All right, time for homework. So this week, I want you to just think back to an issue you identified in past episodes that is the thing that's causing the most friction between you and your children. And then I want you to see if you can practice those 4 Ps, see if you can identify a belonging or boundary need that can alleviate the misbehavior. Those belonging and boundary needs, like all the actual solutions for each one, they are listed in episode 3's worksheet. So if you want to go back to see what all the details are of those belonging and boundary needs, that's where to go for that information. So what is also really fun, a little bonus activity to keep in mind this week too, is you can use this same process on yourself and your unhealthy behaviors, or on your partner, or with your other relationships. If you can start paying attention to people's unhealthy choices or quote misbehaviors, and then start thinking, if I was feeling that way or acting that way, what might it mean that I need? So it can become kind of fun. It really opens your eyes up to how missing needs really are the key to all of our behaviors. That is it for our family relationships kind of a 101 series that we've had for these past 4 episodes. This is a really good base of knowledge and information that I'm going to refer to a lot in all my other episodes, because relationships are the key to everything else in our families working and working really well. So some of these upcoming episodes, I'm just going to have common problems and offer you solutions to school issues or home issues. But then a lot of them will also be going into depth about each of those 6 essential needs. There is a lot to explore in each of those needs, so I want to provide as much information as I can about those. So please make sure you keep tuning in so you can get all the information you need. It really will transform that family dynamic you have at home so that your children are successful, you're feeling better, and you're having so much more fun together as a family. Again, we have such a short time with our kids. Let's enjoy it, let's have fun, and let's be successful. So I've really enjoyed teaching these over the last 4 episodes, and I'd love to hear your feedback. So please reach out. My email is on the screen if you're watching. If not, it is my name, kristentame@gmail.com. Please email me with questions or comments, because I really want to keep this a collaborative classroom. I really want to hear from you. So, all right, I hope you have a great week, and good luck practicing the 4 Ps.